5 lesser-known facts about slavery. Slavery has existed since before written history in almost every culture and civilization. It started about 11,000 years ago during the Neolithic Revolution after the invention of agriculture. In its strictest sense, slavery can be defined as a situation in which people own individuals and apply the same rules they would to any form of property. Throughout human history, millions of people suffered the utter disregard for their rights and feelings as slaves. Even though slavery has been formally abolished in most parts of the world, it continues to be a problem. Children and adults alike are trapped in indentured labor and forced to work as slaves. Here are some unknown facts about slavery through history and in the present. 5. Jazz was born because the black codes forbade slaves from drumming. New Orleans was the only place where WASN actively discouraged, and hundreds of slaves could gather each Sunday to trade, sing, dance, and play music. The origins of jazz date back to late 19th century and early 20th century when African folk music and the cultural influences of West Africa mingled with American and European classical music. Until the mid-1800s, lavish festivals were organized in New Orleans at Place Congo or Congo Square featuring African-based dances to drums. The abolition of slavery in 1865 gave African Americans ample opportunity to find work and entertainment, and the speakeasies during Prohibition, which saw the rise of the jazz age, increasing its popularity and appeal. 4. There are more slaves now than at any other time in human history. Approximately 27 million are enslaved around the world, and 15 million of them are in India. Contemporary slavery includes chattel slavery, which is still practiced in the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, debt bondage, serfdom, domestic servants forced to work in captivity, child soldiers, certain adoptions which forced children into slavery, commercial sex, and forced marriages. According to Kevin Bales of the anti-slavery group Free the Slaves FTS, there were around 27 million people in slavery as of 1999. According to a report by Human Rights Watch in 2003, there are an estimated 15 million children in debt bondage in India alone who work to pay off their family debts. 3. It is a common misconception that slavery is a thing of the past. In the 1940s, slave labor was used in the production of the V-2 guided ballistic missile, whereas the Egyptians used paid labor rather than slaves to build pyramids as far back as 2575 BCE. Despite being a technologically modern project, over 12,000 slave laborers from concentration camps, including Auschwitz, were used in its production. On the other hand, paid labor was used for the construction of Egyptian pyramids, which were built over 4,000 years ago. It took 10,000 workers and more than 30 years to build a single pyramid. The laborers were provided every day with 21 cattle and 23 sheep to eat daily from the farms. 2. In the 1850s, a slave wanting to escape was considered to have a mental disorder called drapetomania. The prescribed treatment was whipping or cutting big toes to make running impossible if the slaves showed any signs of sulkiness and dissatisfaction, which could be a sign of flight. Cartwright prescribed whipping as preventive measure and removing big toes to make running impossible. His views were since debunked and considered pseudoscience and racist. In 1856, renowned landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted made a satirical observation that since white indentured servants also felt the need for flight, the disease must have been introduced to Africa by European traders. 1. One of the first legal slave owners in American history was a black tobacco farmer named Anthony Johnson, born in Angola. Johnson was first sold to the Arab traders and then to a merchant working for the Virginia Company as an indentured servant. He arrived in Virginia in 1621 and was again sold to a white tobacco planter. In 1657, Johnson's white neighbor forged a letter in which the former acknowledged a debt. Being illiterate, Johnson was forced to hand over 100 acres of his land to him. As racism became more common in the 1660s, Johnson moved his family to Somerset County, Maryland, where he took a 300-acre land lease and developed it into a profitable tobacco farm. Please do subscribe, like and share this video with your friends and family. Also turn on the notifications to stay tuned to our daily new contents.